What is up, everybody? This is Lyle with No Hippie Trucking and Transportation, and I just wanted to kind of answer a comment that was left on one of my videos a few weeks ago, and that comment was basically saying that I hate driving at nights, and my trainer has me driving at night all the time. And from my understanding, it looks like the trainer has a 12-hour schedule for both of them. I'm not sure when that schedule starts and when it ends, but this particular driver is doing all their driving at night. Now, first thing I'd like to say about this is I feel I'm extremely qualified to answer this question because I spent over 150,000 miles in training at Prime voluntarily, partially because I wanted to be overtrained, and then partially I wanted to start my LLC at the beginning of a year, which I wasn't able to do because my trainer ended up leaving in November, so I had to get a little bit of a jump start on that. But one thing I can say about team driving from my experience is this better to drive as the load dictates. Now, maybe those shifts, those 12-hour shifts may give you a better sleep schedule, but I just find that running the loads that make sense is a better way to do it from my experience. Now, things could be different for different trucks. So, a lot of times my schedule would flip flop. You might be driving days, and then it kind of flip flops into nights just based on a number of different variables. Now, one thing I could tell you is that I exclusively like driving at nights if the load dictates it now. Now, sometimes it doesn't work out that way, and I end up driving days, and sometimes it does, or I'll be able to kind of flip my schedule to go over to a night schedule. And I like that for a number of different reasons. Finding parking in the morning is easier, traffic is less at night, and things like that. Now, when I was in training, I really didn't like driving nights. I didn't. And I look at it now, especially after going solo, and I kind of look back at those days and I'm like, why didn't I really like driving nights back then? And it kind of hit me that one thing about team driving that I always felt was a little bit of fatigue, always. I never felt like I was 100% rested ever. So when you compound that with driving at nights, it's just not a great combination. I've never been somebody that felt like they were falling asleep, but there were times at the end of a shift where things felt like they were kind of speeding up a little bit faster than they actually were. And since we ran so hard, a lot of times I could just pull over, take a nap for an hour, 2 hours, and still be good to go. So that was one reason I didn't like driving at nights as a team. Also, because when you're on a true team truck, where things are kind of as equal as you can get, like kind of the situation I'm about to go into, where it's not a trainer situation, you have a little bit more leeway as far like as a trainee. You feel like, okay, well, all I got to do is just drive blindly into the night, and you really aren't concerning yourself with when the load's picking up, or when it's delivering or anything like that. So you just drive when it's your shift. If you have a little bit more control over that, it kind of makes things a little bit, I don't know, it changes kind of the atmosphere of it. Like, if I'm driving at nights and I know I could pull over whenever I want if I get tired or whatever, that changes things. Well, that kind of changes things a little bit to where I don't feel like I have to drive, uh, even if I start getting a little tired. And like I said, if you ever feel like you're about to fall asleep or something like that, shut it down. Just shut it down. Now, I know that you're feeling that, driving at night isn't what you want to do now, but one thing I could tell you is once you get out on your own and you start having to deal with certain challenges, you may end up choosing, or you may end up finding that driving at night works best for you as well. Now, there's some places where it doesn't matter. to find parking, regardless of what time or day that you drive. But what I've found in certain places, if you're getting off the road at like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, that could end up being hard, whether that's, just a truck parking area or a rest area, truck stop, casino, whatever it is. It gets a little bit harder as things go on through the night. So, to me, that is one reason to drive at night. Another thing is just less traffic to deal with, things like that. You're able to put down a lot more miles. So, if you're driving at night, you can almost guarantee that you're going to go over, 600 miles. If you're driving, and that's if it's necessary. You don't just necessarily have to drive 600 miles, but if you're driving during the day, that can be a challenge depending on where you're driving through and things like that. So, hopefully that kind of, I know that, the person that left this comment is just going through training. And one thing I could say, I don't think I would train anybody like that. And I really wouldn't train anybody like that if I would feel a little uncomfortable with the newer person driving at night until I had a chance to kind of feel them out a little bit. But in the long run, I think cutting your teeth driving at night is going to pay off in the long run, because all the challenges that you face at night are going to become so much easier during the daytime. If you're hitting them mountains in West Virginia at night and then all of a sudden you're able to run them during the day, that's a totally different situation. Same thing with them Sierra Mountains going between California and Reno. What is that? I forget the highway out there, but all that stuff is easier during the daytime. So one thing I can say about driving at night during training is it's going to make everything seem a lot easier. Now, you're not really, well, the average person I talk to that's in training right now is not really getting a lot of backing experience during their training portion. So I think it's going to be a lot easier if you're able to drive at night and find parking, between like 6 in the morning till like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's just going to make it easier for you to find parking at truck stops and kind of perfect your skills kind of like that, as opposed to being forced to perfect your skills at 3 o'clock in the morning at the one spot that might be open at the truck stop. So, anyway, that's my thoughts on driving in the day or being a solar power trucker. There's also a little bit of bravado that goes along with being those drivers that get out there and drive all them long shifts at night. I'll be driving by truck stops getting fuel in the middle of the night, and I'm like, man, all these solar power truckers just in here relaxing all night. I don't know. It just gives me a sense of pride to know that I can run like that at night, when because there's a lot of people that just do not do it. It's not that they're afraid of doing it. They just don't do it unless it's absolutely necessary. So I take pride in being one of those drivers that's out there at night. And it benefits me a lot as well. Anyway, not to keep on rambling and everything, but listen, all you got to do is make it your 50,000 miles. And with this COVID situation going on, maybe a little bit longer than that, but listen, it's greater later. Once you get out there on your own, you dictate your own schedule, and you might find that days are, what you want to roll with. You might find that nights are what you want to roll with. But either way, one thing that you're going to feel when you get out on your own is more rested, and you're going to feel a little bit more like you have the ability to kind of change things up the way you want them. So that gives you a little bit of comfortability there as well. Anyway, that's it, man. I'm like I said, I'm about to be hitting Springfield Terminal here sometime next week. If you happen to see me out there, hit me up. I'm going to be picking up my teammate. We're going to be running and gunning after that. Anyway, I'd like to thank you guys for stopping by. No Hippie Trucking and Transportation. I appreciate it. Comment, subscribe, and and I'm out.